Happy Hour. Today's topic is Google Read and Write. We've had so many of you are with us here in person, and welcome everybody who's watching on recording as well. With us to talk about this awesome topic, not only do I have my partners in crime, Lynn and Lisa are here, but we also have an expert. Etna Ellis is an assistive technical specialist, and I want to welcome her on right now. Say hi and tell us a little bit about your expertise.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to help you with this webinar this afternoon. My name is Etna, and Etna Ellis, I work for IT, and we have done a lot of trainings around the Read and Write for Google toolbar, particularly with regard to special ed students, but also just to the general ed population as well. So I'm happy to be here with you this afternoon.
I'm happy to have you because we have a jam-packed agenda. This is the big arc that we're going to roll today. If you're okay with the agenda, I'd love for you to share an emoticon in the chat. This is the digital equivalent of nodding. But we're going to talk about read and write. Then we're going to talk about access. How do you actually get this tool? Then we're going to go into how it works on web pages and then how it works on Google Docs. Good with this agenda? Go ahead and give me an emoticon in the chat. If you happen to be anti-emoticon, you could just say yes. That works just as well for us. And drop that in right now. Now I got a yay there, so I didn't just get a response, I got a cheer. I'm going to take it that way. And don't worry if you don't figure out the emoji thing. It is a colon and a parentheses, but it's not you need to know. All right, with what actually is read and write? So that's our first moment, and I'm going to bring Etna, you're an expert on it. Give elevator speech. What is this tool we're talking about today?
It's clearly a Chrome tool available in the Chrome browser, and it is an extension. We've got 3 different kinds of tools that support us in Chrome: add-ons, apps, and extensions. So Read and Write for Google is an extension, so it lives on the top of your toolbar. I'm sure we'll have an image later. And it works in dominantly Google Docs, but also in websites. And it has fabulous tools that support reading and writing primarily. So I guess that's the quick and dirty summary of what Read and Write for Google is.
And it does have, like many apps, free and premium versions. Now we're actually going to talk about both today. North hour we have a free only policy, but the reason we have the premium version and why it gets highlighted today is because certain students in MCPS have the premium version available to them, and all teachers can get the version as well. So who get the premium version?
Question. Well, so there's been an upgrade from last year. So last year it was sort of a limited amount of students. Now it's limited, but a bigger group. A student with an IEP or a 504 plan in grades 2 through 12 is eligible for the premium version of Read and Write for Google. And just layered on top of that, they have to get it in the Chrome store, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later. But once they get it in the Chrome store, that's all you need to do. For a student who has an IEP or a 504 plan, grades 2 through 12, it automatically gives them all premium versions tools, so you don't have to do anything extra on top of that.
Mentioned all teachers have this option available for them as well, and they need to do a little bit more. So that's what we need to talk about, because students are just going to have it. But teachers, they need a little bit more. So we're going to talk to you about how they can get there. The thing to do is click register for the bar. Then they know that Google Apps for EDU account. And then you need to know your principal's email. So I kind of gave the big version of that there. We also have some images here. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. Now, tell us, the big one. Now you tell us exactly what they need to do.
On the left-hand side, you see a screenshot of the registration page, which is digital online, that teachers should fill out before they go to the Chrome store to get the tool. The reason that you do step 1 first is that if you do step 2, it will not know you're a teacher and you will get the pared down free version. So you put in your Chrome browser search engine the Read and Write Free for Teachers. And enter it in and press the magnifying bar at the search. The first link will be the link that you get to. It's a text help product, so you'll see text help written, and it will take you to this page on the left. And you complete all white spaces where you see Carrie and you see booth and then you see job title. So you're going to complete all the pieces underneath those titles. And the next one down after the fourth one, as Carrie indicated, asks you for your email. It's crucial that you put in your .net email because this is going to map to your .net account, and you have to have the correct email or it will be looking for .org and it won't find it. So just complete that page. As Carrie said, at the end of the page it asks for your principal's name and your principal's email, so you do need to have that handy. They do not get any kind of communication from text help. They just want to have it on file. And a word to the wise, they do ask you for a Google account and a Twitter account. You can just ignore that. You don't need to put that in. So that's your first step on the left.
And the next step, once you fill out that information, then at that point you can go, did you get a confirmation email?
It says, when you hit the bottom, it says submit, and you hit on the submit tab, and it says good to have you on board. And the truth is, I'm not sure if you do get an email or not. I think you do, but it's been so long since I've registered. But once you see that good to have you on board, you know you're good to go. Just a quick comment in the chat here. Somebody asked if they did it wrong months ago. Do I just uninstall and re-register using step 1? And yes, that's the correct thing to do. Go into your list of extensions and put in the trash. Then all as a teacher on that step 1 on the left, and re-go to the Chrome store.
And it's a really cool benefit for you because you can see all the features and you need to figure out how to use them for students and how to best do that. And when you do go to the Chrome store and you want to install it, you'll go to the Chrome store like we did here, and then in the added to Chrome, because I've added it, you'll have a blue button which you'll click on, and then you actually get the extension itself. Edna was mentioning an extension, so it lives up here. So this is what we call the Omni box. You know, it's where you search, it's where you see your URL. And then if you come over to the right-hand side of that, you'll see a little Google Read and Write. And that's kind of how you access it and get that information and get that piece out here. Now, before we jump over, and my screen's going to change, and we're going to take ourselves over, I'm going to ask Edna, there are a lot of tools out there on the market that will do some of the things we're going to talk about here today. Read to the kids and voice typing. Why is Google Read and Write kind of why I recommend use this tool for everybody? Not just the kids that have the premium version, but why everybody?
Because a couple of things. The first thing is everybody, every kid, every person, whether you purchase the toolbar or not, has access to text-to-speech. So the same tool is used by the student who is not IEP as the student who is IEP, some of these basic features. So just everybody using the same tool makes things easier right there to start with. So that's one of the major reasons that we recommend everybody uses it. There are a couple of other free tools as well that everybody can use, but text-speech is sort of moving into more of a choice field than a support field. Some students just prefer listening, even though they read fine, they decode fine. Just having the option of text-to-speech is sometimes a support students just prefers. So we recommend not just special ed kids, every kid that you work with downloads this toolbar.
I'll show you what happens when you do that. Now, of course, some guys are watching our recording. It'd be a great moment to pause and go through these steps. Sign for Google Read and Write. Make sure, actually, if I could ask one of my wingmen to throw a link to that page in the chat. So it'd be a good time to pause once that link pops in. Then, of course, you're going to visit the store to install the extension. And that's where you're going to click on this blue button. For those who are live with me today, I'm actually going to change my screen right now. It's going to pop over. And I'm going to take you does take a second sometimes, so give it just a quick sec. And here I'm thinking about you can use with web pages and Google Docs. And we're going to start actually here web page. I just picked that out, one of the I always taught with, which is Washington's Farewell. I'm going to come up to start a Google Reader bar to show up to my extensions and click on it. If any questions while I go along or any thoughts, you can still continue to talk in the chat if you're here live by rolling your cursor up to the top of the screen and clicking on the little icon that says chat. It looks like a chat. That's how you know there, and you can give me messages. But what I do is actually on my Google Read and Write. Once this bar will appear up at the top of the screen. Talk about many of these different options, starting right here with hover speech. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show one what it does, and then I'm going to invite Etna and then Elise. I know you're here with me today, Lynn as well. If you have a benefit you want to throw in for why this works so well with kids, I'm going to open this at that moment. So let's do hover speech right here. And I'm actually ask folks in the chat to give me a quick prediction. What do you think hover speech will do? Go in the chat right now. As you guys are watching on recording, I bet you're making a good educated guess right now. What do you think this one's going to do? Send me an answer of what you think hover speech will do in the chat, and then we'll see if we're right. Directly to all panelists, is to provide you with a definition when you hover over a specific word. All right, what else do we think? As Rachel says, speaks when you're over a word, read out loud. Let me, gardens as a plural we think it's going to read to us. All right, let me click. So now it's turned on because it has that little color bar underneath it. I'm going to roll my mouse down here. I'm going to roll cursor over. Nothing. Now I'm going to double click. Oh, there we go. I do patience. Let's see what it does.
Appear a new election of the citizen to administer the executive. At the same time, to me the justice to be assured that this resolution.
So hover text allows you to do just that hover. As you'll see, there's a bit of delay. But when you hover over it, it will begin to read that text for you. So you have an ability to move your cursor around and information read to you. And I'm going to click on stop, which is just a VCR, to stop that feature. Stop the feature from reading, but then you have to turn it off. You come back and have to click on hover speech, and it turns it off for you. And others, benefit for kids because?
Well, okay, I'll start. It's Etna here. So I think what they try to do with the hover element is sort of mimic our eyes, because when we read something like regularly, we always read it word for word. We scan. So the hover allows you to drop your cursor in at any point in the text, and it will pick it up right there and then. A couple of other things to point out on this. I think you could see that the text is highlighted as it's read. That's a huge point for our students, because they're not just listening, they're engaging in the text. The text is being highlighted. Every word is enunciated as it's highlighted. And there's good research behind this to show that text-to-speech in this format actually supports acquisition of reading skills. It's not sort of a cheated, it doesn't diminish acquisition of reading. So, if you feel like there's some pushback on it, it's not attracting from students learn how to read. So beneficial on a couple of levels.
Also, just from a technical aspect, and this is Elise, sometimes with the Chromebooks, which is the device most students are using when they're accessing the toolbar, the click and drag of the highlight is a little difficult. So I think this is definitely an upgrade for the toolbar that students are able just to kind of cover and have the text read to them rather than having to master the chat in order to hear the reading.
Fantastic. Now let's go to our next one here. We'll jump in on dictionary. Click on, I have no valid word selected, but this is a hard passage. That's why this one speaks to me. So when you double click on a word, actions, just like you would expect. this one, why it's useful, but before I jump to the next one and pull in experts, I'm going to go to this next one here, and it says Picture Dictionary, and see what happens when we do Picture Dictionary. And while I'm doing that, Etna, Elise, et al., and Etna, you'll start with, kick it off. Tell us about these two features and why they're useful.
As Carrie pointed out, there's two different ways to get support in what a word means. And one is very, very low language. So somebody put in the chat earlier, some of our ESL students really, really benefit from this text-to-speech, but they also benefit from an image of what a word means. It doesn't mean that you don't understand much of the text, but there might be a word or two that it's helpful to see what the picture representation looks like. And the dictionary is fabulous because it's right in there. You don't have to click into something else. You don't have to go to a Google Dictionary feature. And text-to-speech for the definition is also built into that dictionary feature. So just the fact that they're right in there in the document, no breaks, available to you, is, I think, very seamless support for some of our struggling readers.
And also, it took me a few times using the dictionary and the picture dictionary to realize that the text-to-speech is embedded in this part of the tool. I kind of thought those triangles were bullets at first, but they're actually play buttons. So yeah, so exactly. So it'll read the word to you, which is, or the part of speech or the definition, which is just another bonus.
And I will say that as a nerd who loves to read on her Kindle and loves to click on words that you're not quite sure of, that you've read 1,000 times, but you've just believed you know what they mean, this appeals to my little inner dictionary nerd. So my shout out with those pieces.
Something real quick. You may be covering this and maybe not, but I was hoping to show the folks how you change the voice, because I know for me as a listener of audiobooks, this is a big deal. And so if I'm listening to something and the voice isn't for me, I'll pick a different voice. And the students have the flexibility and freedom to do this, and I think it's important for some of them. So click in the wheel cog. We show folks how to change the voice. And we've got Serena at the top, the UK Serena. So we were listening to a UK accent, but if you drop down on the right-hand side, you have many other voices to pick from. I tend to favor Dan, but that's very personal. So, you know, teaching the students that they can pick a voice sometimes is very helpful for them. And you'll see, so Dan, we're going to try Dan, but words of the wise, you're going to see some foreign voice too, and they are designed to read foreign languages. So if you pick them, you're going to hear English in a very strange accent. So don't pick them unless you're reading a different language. But is our British man, so he's my guy, but the students will have their own preferences with this.
Ahead on this one, why don't we just do this part right now? As they're getting, we've just shown you that they can have words read to them, that they can see definitions, and that it can be read. And we're going to do some more of those pieces. As mentioned, there's research on allowing students to pick how they hear their voices, and that also means the speed. And so the first thing Etna said when she was just our first webinar was that people always ask, is there a perfect speed? So is there a perfect speed? Yeah. I'm cheating. I know the answer.
Okay. All right. I'm going to tell you anyway. No, there's no perfect speed. We give our students a little agency around this one, because some of our students that don't decode well actually comprehend very, very well, and they can listen at a much faster pace than sometimes we would recognize or think. So we do a little bit of upfront work with the student and have them pick a speed that works well for them. So it's fine to start around 50 and move up and down, but again, I would be very sure to get student input into what the best voice and the best speed ends up being for them.
And again, becoming more comfortable with this for your students will allow them to take agency over their own work, and it makes it a fun way to introduce it. Now, let's see some of the more tricks and tips that we have going on here. We have screen mask, and I'm going to ask everybody in the chat, give me a guess. What do you think screen mask does? Go ahead and throw that in the chat right now. What do you think it does? Please to send to all participants. I have some great answers that went just last time. So this time, Doing screen math does. And if you don't know, you can give me a smiley face emoticon. Answer just me. Let's see if everyone else will share with everyone. You guys are right. Screen math does this in this time. This is being recorded in park time. It does very park thing to support students. That one. And that translator, which I bet you can guess, will transfer students. But we will hop over to something that's really, really, really cool, and this is the highlight tool. Now, you guys learn how to do this on the trackpad, but if you go in and highlight a series of words, I'm going to show you two things you can do with it. So just simple clicking and then picking a variety of different colors, words of interest. And I like this one, arduous, right? I have two options here. One looks like a little arrows, and the second over here looks like vocabulary. Now this is really cool, and as Norka's going to mention, this also really helps language learners. And it's important for you as a teacher to know that even if your students don't have it, because this is not universal for ESOL as of this recording in 2017, it's a really useful tool for teachers to use. So collect highlights. I'm going to click on that one first. To collect all the highlights, and you might do them by position or by color. Okay, and here's what it's going to do. A new document for you that has your highlights. I'm going through George Washington's farewell address and find all the quotes that support being an isolationist nation, and then poof, organized here for you. How cool is that? Second cool feature, and this is especially good for English language, is you would say vocabulary is elementary, well, posh, to use technical language there, because Washington's farewell address is something I did with my high school students, and they need help with this vocab. So them with it, I had to go in and look up all the words and provide them a doc. Well, now, when you click on vocabulary, Google Read and Write, you as a teacher, it's going to give a vocabulary list for you. And this is what's so cool. That list not only has the definitions, it has those visual images we talked about. So cool is that, right? This would take you, like, imagine, in the chat, how long would it take you as a teacher to put together a list of 10 words like this? You know, how many minutes? A lot. So then, Elise, thought about using this. Why is this so awesome?
I'll start off. Well, first of all, as you said, it's a fabulous time saver for teachers. And even though only students with IEPs have this tool, teachers can very quickly, and especially special educators, can create these vocab lists and send them out to regular ed teachers. They can send them out to anywhere the student might be going, so everybody has the same page. They print them out for students, and students just have this great reference. It's just a regular Google Doc. So if you don't mind clicking on it again one more time, the highlights one, so you can see that a lot of times it'll give you, on the actual page that was created, it gives you a lot of definitions. So you can go through it and edit it any way that makes sense for you. There's too many, or there's one that you don't like, you just delete it. So you can make it flexible. You can make it look the way you like it to look. Especially good on the right-hand side, there's a space for students to interact with that vocabulary word any way you deem useful. A lot of times teachers will say, look at the symbol in the third column. Why is that symbol to you representative of what the word means? So the student has some input and has to do some work around that vocab list as well. It's one of those tools that when teachers see, they just love it. The perfect word has just arrived. I'm in there. I agree.
And also sent to us panelists was all content teachers should consider using this feature for plan lesson design. And I couldn't do in our googly world and our webinar world. We like something, we use exclamation points. So I'm going to exclamation point that comment for. And so that, you know what, that's really cool and it's really easy because what you have to do is hide your words in doc, right? And press on this vocab list and it will appear for you. So we just saved ourselves hours with this one. And as you
something to
Elise, jump on in.
Something to add real quick with this. This tool also works in a PDF. So it's on your online curriculum. There's PDF provided there. You can use the vocab tool or the highlight tool there. So can your students have the premium version of the toolbar? But a question I get from a lot of teachers is like for a guided reading book or a textbook, if they scan the page to make a PDF, can they then use these tools? And when the page is scanned as an image, it's not going to work. But you can quickly type out some key vocab words from those paper sources. As long as each word is highlighted individually, it's still going to generate the list for you. The word doesn't have to be in context in order for the definition and picture to be generated in the vocabulary list.
Please, how many of us have a vocab doc we've asked kids to do that we could super fast just pop that in, right?
Exactly.
We have one of those. We've already been assigned at some point to make that vocab list. This is kind of a magic piece for doing so. So notice, I'm on a web page here, and I'm going to just grab some of this text from myself on this page. Let me make sure I get this text. I'm going to jump back over to our document here. So now I have a bunch of text. I'm I have all my pieces here. I wanted to show you that when we started with web pages, because as is everywhere for all students, this stuff really works and works really well here in Google Docs. And you'll notice my bars appearing at the top of the screen. You access this a little differently. Instead of going up to the Read and Write extension, it actually gives you this little like a hanging chat is what I think, but it might be dating myself. It hangs down here, and you click on it to see all your bar options. And as Etna mentioned, you have your little widget up here, which you can click on, and this is where students can really get in and start to customize it for themselves. And one of the recommendations I know her team made is the first time you introduce this to your students, give them a chance, give them something where they're really doing, kind of getting in here and playing around with these features. Kind of build in some time for them to pick what it wants to sound like for them. It's fun, but it's also really useful for them as learners. And are there any others that Etna, that we should mention on here? We already did speech. Are any of these worth noting?
So a couple of things. You're on the language you're on right now. You can actually change this has come up in a couple of our immersion schools. You can change the language features on this tool to French, Spanish, Portuguese. There's a bunch of languages you can make it. There you go. But the problem is once I change it, I can't read any of this. So I'm always, careful about changing it right back again. If you go back to the speech, there's one important one I'll show you. See the third one down that says reading and the box is checked? Means it won't pause. It will keep reading a message and read. If you uncheck it, the reading will stop after every punctuation, and you'll have to click the read feature in for the reading to continue. And that's a big deal for some of our slower processors that need a second or two to digest the information. So that's a personal preference for your students as well as they figure out what works well for them. And this tool, just for kicks, the last one that says translation, that single translation word, there's a few languages you can pick from as well. So you have some ESOL students who speak one of the 5 languages, they have an option of changing one word at a time.
They have their settings straight. I just want to highlight that these tools were familiar to you. The dictionary, the picture dictionary, we've talked about this one. Our highlight screen, our screen mask, that is here for us. Our translator tool, and our highlights are all here. But we have one new one that's pretty cool up here, and this is prediction. And so I'm going to ask folks to give wait, I gave it away. Oops, I was going to ask you to guess, because last time we did this, Etna said, look at this. What do you think this icon does? It's kind of goofy. In fact, what do you think? What do you think they're actually trying to do with this picture here? So throw that in the chat. What do you think this guy is supposed to be? Opinion. I was wrong. But what do you think this little guy up here is supposed to mean? And I ask you that because I want to hammer home. People kind of forget what this one is sometimes. So if you think about that account for a second, trust me, you're never going to forget it. Nora and Susan tell us the predictor of all good things. Deep tells us shows a person's brain thinking. Word prediction for writing. And drum roll.
Well, you know, I mean, I think, Carrie, to be fair, there's no wrong answer. Because I personally think a crystal ball, it looks like a crystal ball.
And we're our experts, so we're going to crystal ball. But if you want, I thought, Deepa, I thought it was a person's brain, like that hit in the head. So I was having a bad day. I don't know.
But Deepa agrees with you. Because it's
just so as long as one person agrees.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm going to actually mute myself because I want to type, and I go bang, 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 bang. So Edna, talk us through with this.
A word prediction essentially does what your phone does when you try and send a text message. It predicts what you're going to spell or say. And the default is it will predict 10 words at a time. And it predicts based on how words are spelled. It's not the same as your phone in that it's guessing, you know, what you're going to say next. It's guessing based on how you phonetically have started spelling the word. So it is sort of geared towards students that struggle with spelling. So really, it's a pretty good prediction tool. I want to say, that, again, there's 10 words. That might be a lot, but we'll talk about it in a minute. If you have a student that can't decode some of these guesses, you hover over the word, and it will give you a auditory preview. It will say the word. So you click on the word, and it will put it right into your document. But I want to ask you this. If you spell the word beautiful the way I'm going to tell you, spell B-U-T. L. So R comes next. So they gets it. So some of our poor spellers don't even have the first couple of letters correct, but the way it's set up is that if you persevere to the end of the word, it's programmed to know, oh, that's what she meant. So that would be a word to the wise for our students, is persevere to the end of the word. So this supports two things. Number one, primarily it supports our poor spellers. It also supports some students that struggle with just motorically controlling the keyboard, but it doesn't speed up the keyboarding process because you have to hover over and click on the word. And I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, Carrie, to go over to the widgets one more time, the actual the settings, because personally I think 10 words is a lot, but it might be needed. But if you go into the settings and go to the second word, prediction, you can reduce the amount of words that you pick. So prediction, and put in 6, like 6 or 4, what do you want? It will go as low as 3. Now turn it on and off again, and it will reset to predict however many. There you go. So for me, this looks more manageable, but you know, and it's student choice, or what's best for each student.
Really has a big impact on our students, because we're not just teaching them the tools they need now. We're trying to give them the things they need to be independent, strong learners in that future. And one of those things that they need to do in order to make that happen for some of our students, and this is one of our last ones to wrap with here today, is the ability to practice reading what they say out loud. And so I love this little feature. I find this to be so cool, and that wouldn't be the cool one. This is called Practice Reading Aloud. And click on it, and then Edna, you want to tell us a little bit about what this does?
This is a pretty new tool. So you have to first highlight some text, I believe. And that's a word to the wise. It's often watch this space, because they add things to this toolbar from time to time, and this is fairly new. And this gives you a chance to just do a read of this this piece of text that you've put in there. You click the microphone, and it records you as you're reading, and then you can send a recording of your decoding and your reading to your teacher. So click on the mic and start reading, and it records your voice. On the phone.
And that read-through, and I cut out there just for a little second, but you can also have the students, as I move this away so you can see, click record button to get started, and they can practice reading themselves. It's really cool. They can see how they're doing in comparison with the text. So neat. Our last, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. But I do know we had just one that came through a while back, and it was asking us, I believe, let me come up here for a second. Ask what, oops, take it back. You know, I should have held that in my head. They were asking, I believe, what screens did. But if you still have a question, go ahead in the chat right now, and if you don't, give us a smiley face. And I will, of course, give it out that I agree this is a great sport for ESOL students. It's a great sport for all language, so our young students and our high school students that need some additional support. A question that came through here is a teacher at my school commented that if our students lost read and write, does it sometimes get uninstalled? Elise, I think you might be able to talk to that one. You want to throw in an answer?
So that's kind of two things. Are they losing access to the premium version, or is the app going away? The app, the Purple Puzzle Piece, is no longer in their extensions bar. They can go to the Chrome store and reinstall it. I have heard of some students or teachers needing to do that kind of at the beginning of the school year. If the student no piece of the floor plan, they would lose that access to the premium version, but could still access the free version through the Chrome store. So when in doubt, reinstall from the Chrome store.
Information for life as well, right? And of course, if they're IEP students and it is installed for them, I would imagine it's supposed to be put on for them. And if it ever has a problem, just shoot a help desk ticket and send the student's name and ID number. That's for you. And
a quick,
right ahead.
I wanted just to say something real quick. When you do use the text-to-speech feature, which we used earlier on the website, also think about it in a Google Doc for it as an editing tool. Because when our students type, when we type, it's in our head, especially with punctuation. So if some of our students use text-to-speech, again, special ed, regular ed, ESOL, every kind of student, it supports editing sometimes in writing. So
read through, you can catch things you don't see on paper. On point. So let me give you a recap. If you have any questions, you can throw in the chat. I'll let you know that Google Read and Write is an extension. You can find it no matter what page you are on. Here you are. You'll be able to click on this little extension and get your toolbar to appear, disappear, which is sometimes very useful to make it go away. It will work in Google Docs as well as the whole Google Suite, and find it by dropping down on the hanging chad that we have here. The tools are fairly consistent across the board, and if you don't remember what they are, just roll your cursor over it like this one. It's going to put it in a voice note for you in a comment. But if you forgot that, or you know that because we didn't talk about it in this webinar, click on it and find out. As Etna mentioned, they're always adding in new things. And my favorite new thing is this practice reading aloud feature. Of course, if you have any additional questions, we want to hook you up with some additional support. It's our version of helping you out. And I'm going to throw a link to the document here, which is PDF, and could be read to you in the chat. And this has a lot of information. It has a quick guide to all the different symbols we talked about today. And if you, of course, wanted to have this read to you, you could bring down your Google Meet, and it would work for you. As we wrap up and we get our parting shots, I'm going to invite experts who are here with me today. Do you have any kind of parting shots for people as they think about starting to use Google Read and Write? Etna, why don't you kick us off?
So I guess the biggest thing I'd like to say is that consider this as a tool for all students, not just a tool for special ed students. Even though they have bigger and better features in the toolbar, we're entering a brave new world where reading, listening, however people get information is the way they want to get information. And if they can get it in a way that is palatable, they're going to get it better. They're going to get it more. So get it for all students. They can all have text-to-speech. So that would be my biggest selling point for this tool.
I would, Edna said, I think that there are so many students who would benefit from the features here, but also don't hesitate to use your premium access as a teacher once you fill out that form to get things like the vocabulary list. That it would be so great to distribute it as a make a copy for each student assignment in Google Classroom that students can have access to and the studio have those kind of really awesome features at their disposal. Some time intentionally teaching them to use the tools, that's how they'll get the most out of them.
One more thing, Carrie, that I just thought of.
Anything. Go.
Anything. Okay, thank you. So, sometimes what we hear in trainings, and that's an excellent point, is, what about the fact that my student is not going to get text-to-speech on testing, on PARC? So if I give it to him in the school's instructional setting, he's not going to have it in PARC, and it's going to be a problem. And just the point on that is that we sort of look at them as different scenarios. If a student is going to acquire more content and knowledge instructionally using a tool like this, they're going to give them the tool. I'm worried so much about the fact that they won't have it in PARC, because hopefully they will have acquired more knowledge and do better in PARC. So just to address that point, because it's a great question and it comes up often.
And what a good one is, in the end, while PARC may be there and we have a plethora of tests, the point is, and that would be my big parting message for this. 50 years ago, it was a very common skill that you could dictate a letter to a secretary. My husband still has one lawyer at his firm that does a computer in his office and he dictates. And we picked up using speech-to-text because it really does help me. I realized it was just a different skill that acquired and needed me to learn different things. And I love it. I do use it all the time. I've learned when to use it, and it's made my life better. Giving students the tools they need to support them so that they can pick and choose what works for them, well, that's transformational instruction. And quite frankly, I think that's the goal. And if you're with me, or you just like to save time, as Elise mentioned, or you just want to, and we all do, support our students to their best interest, we think this is a great to help you. And we want to make sure you have help to connect you. For the remainder of the 2016-17 school year, there are still 2 instructional and technology specialists assigned to your school. They help you out with this stuff. We also do weekly hours, which you can attend, or you can watch our recorded Appy Hour. I have thrown a link in the chat to our Appy Hour website, so you can go over and check out everything that we've done and talked about this year and get information for life. And of course, you can always Google it. We do. And follow us on Twitter. I threw a bunch of our handles in there. But we tell you not only when Appy Hour is going to start, but we also give you updates, information, and send out our recorded shows so that you can get to them later. And Edna, I believe you have a handle. If you want to throw that in the chat, I'm sure people will. And here's our message to you. Keep getting cool apps with Rockstar Instruction, and have a great day, everybody.